He's pushing up daisies, and a lot of people are pushing up daisies.
They needed a tape recorder on the telephone.
You testified, and correctly so, I might add, that Koresh came up to the front door. He said, "What's going? What did he say?"
Well, he held his hand out. He had the door in one hand. He had his arm out. He was unarmed. And he said, as the agents were rushing him, he said, "Hold on, there's women and children here. Let's talk about this. Let's work it out." And he said the door flew back in his hand from the velocity of a gun hitting it. And he slammed the door and fell back, and then all these bullets came through the foyer, hitting Perry Jones, a 70-year-old unarmed man, in the stomach. And when Perry went down, I guess is when some of the younger guys started to fire back in their defense. The interesting thing about this is there were two steel doors at the front of the building. The right-hand door, the door that didn't have much evidence, was entered into the record at the trials in San Antonio. It was entered into evidence. But the other door wasn't. Now, the other door, Jack Zimmerman, one of the attorneys that was inside, said that all these bullet holes were coming from the outside into the building through this door, a large number of bullets.
Yes.
That door was not entered into evidence. When the defense attorney said, "Where is this door? How come this has not been entered into evidence?" the prosecution said that door must have disintegrated in the fire.
In June of 1994, Deborah was giving information to whom? J. Edgar Reno, 75 or 65 pages. It was faxed to her, talking about the compromise, talking about the espionage. I don't want to insult you, my dear, but I mean, why would you give it to somebody who obviously does not have the interest of this country and who is appointed by the president? What did you expect by her getting this information?
I sometimes wonder that myself, because in March of '94, I had given all of my documents to Perry. He had turned them over to John Deutsch, who was then Assistant Secretary. I was informed by Perry's office that Deutsch was taking all of the documents to the Congress, specifically to the intelligence, to be reviewed basically by them to take action. And what then occurred was that Deutsch ultimately became the appointee for the CIA. It didn't seem like there was any prosecution activity taking place, and so I thought 3 months later that I should put something into the Justice Department, and that's why I sent that into Reno's office.
But it's an injustice department, and we've got the first lesbian lady of law, Janet Reno, covering up the Waco hearings, manipulating the media, telling bold-faced lies about the whole operation. The government has testified that they had a film, or a tape of all of this, and that tape suddenly disappeared.
They said it came out blank. Is what the ATF, the FBI said that they never received any tapes.
All of the film came out, with the exception of the proof that would show that the ATF opened fire and murdered the man.
The activity at the front door.
Right. They murdered one man, and his name was?
Perry Jones.
Perry Jones.
Also, Winston Blake was murdered the first day from the helicopters firing into the building.
And the helicopters were firing into the building.
3 different eyewitnesses I spoke to all swear that they saw the helicopters firing. I did not see them firing, but I saw the evidence, the physical evidence from the building, the bullet holes coming through the roof later, and during the siege, I saw the evidence of the helicopters firing.
I don't understand why none there call it murder.
Do you believe that the Oklahoma atrocity was done deliberately and by design for the purpose of utilizing it as a tool to pass this legislation to eliminate the circulation of information?
I believe that the Oklahoma bombing came down just as I was informed it would be, the purpose being to take down a federal building in retaliation and to take out Alan Witcher. However, I believe that the FBI and the Justice Department immediately seized upon the opportunity both to cover up government employees' complicity in that operation and to go after the militia, any other person that would speak against the Justice Department.
Now, wait a minute. Deborah, I want you to look right into the camera here. Now, you just said that you heard about this in advance of the event, some 2 weeks?
That's true.
So we're talking about the government, someone who's working with the government, at least in the FBI, telling her that in advance of the event that there was going to be an event on a federal building. Is this correct?
That's correct. And I announced that to the McClendon News Service in Washington, D.C. the day before the Oklahoma City bombing.
Sarah McClendon?
Yes.
This whole thing is a sham. Is that what you're saying? I mean,
Yeah.
Was there an assault? Was there an ambush? I don't see how a church can ambush a group of people coming over to raid a church.
That's what's interesting is the government from day one has come in on us and violated our civil rights, violated our constitutional rights, murdered us, and then has taken this whole front that they were the victims. They almost made it seem like we went out gunning for them. And they say that they were met with gunfire from 40 different positions and they were ambushed. Well, if we had fully automatic weapons and we were at 40 different positions waiting for them, not one of those agents would have walked off the cattle trailers. What I'm saying to you is that there was never any malicious intent to kill government agents.
Did any of you fire a shot first?
No.
Not one shot?
No, the people that I spoke to all are conclusive. They all swear that they were fired at first and they fired back in defense. The plan was never to kill anybody.
You mean to say that the church did not raid the ATF? The ATF raided the church?
I think that's pretty obvious considering where we were and where they were.
It should be pretty obvious to you that the government is lying.
No, I personally witnessed there is no war on drugs. I saw the cocaine that was being shipped into the Mena airport operation.
I mean, you personally saw cocaine being shipped into the Mena airport? I mean, personally?
Well, I personally saw tons of it stored in a warehouse that was under my name at the Guadalajara airport. Cocaine that was destined for the United States. And
was the president of the now president of the United States, then governor of the state of Arkansas, knowledgeable about this cocaine?
Again, going back to sworn testimony on his end of the spectrum, we deposed a trooper named L.D. Brown, who said that he likewise had discovered the cocaine coming into Mena. He took that evidence directly to his boss, Bill Clinton, and Clinton did absolutely nothing to interfere with it. In fact, quite the opposite, told Mr. Brown to ignore it, that it was okay, that was Dan Lassiter's deal.
On April 19th, I initially reported, after having the day before reported that a building would be attacked. On the morning of the bombing, I made a few public statements, one of which was that there were 3 devices inside the building that were responsible for bringing the building down, and the truck outside had nothing to do with it, if there ever had been a truck outside, because to this date, I am still pat in my statement that Ryder truck was not in front of the building at the time of the detonation. And I also, on the morning of the bombing, demanded that the government come forward with their alleged ATM tapes, because there was one especially touted from them that was supposed to have been in a bank ATM, and another one from what was supposed to have been a phone company surveillance camera. The average ATM surveillance area is a minimum of 1,000 feet.
Now, but how about the resolution of the film with regards to somebody who's 1,000 feet away? We're talking 100 yards. Over 100 yards, right?
Well, I'm one of the leading video experts in this country. In fact, I delivered to the FBI in November of '92 the technology that allowed them to clear up what we call fuzzy pictures. On my own computer in my office, had someone given me a tape that day out of an ATM, I personally have the ability, with just the equipment I have, to have cleared up that picture to perfect resolution, full color, in under 9 minutes.
Now, could it be that these ATM pictures, not only one but 2, just didn't work that day, just the way the videotape didn't work getting pictures of the assault at Waco when Koresh went out to talk to them and they opened fire on him? The government has testified that they had a film or a tape of all of this, and that tape suddenly disappeared.
They said it came out blank. It came out blank, 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 blank.
How about Janet Reno? I call her the Heinrich Himmler of the American legal system.
I mean, all the contradictions we have.
Yeah.
Janet Reno, she's making the ultimate decisions, right? In other words, it's up to her to find out what the CS gas is. For anyone to say that she used CS gas because she thought it was the most harmless form of gas she could use against the children is an obvious liar. All the information about CS gas shows how harmful it is. In Israel,